Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. We continue bi'idhnillahi ta'ala our overview of the book Zukhruf al Qawl by Shaykh Fahd al Ajlan and Abdullah al Ujairi. Zukhruf al Qawl, beautified but poisonous speech. That these are the doors to deviation, unfortunately. Allah musta'an. Article number 7, they title it as La yaqbaluhu al aql. That the mind, the aql does not accept this. Somebody comes along and he says that this here does not make sense, it is not rational, my mind cannot accept this, my mind can never accept this. The person mentions this with regards to certain verses in the Noble Quran, with regards to certain ahadith of our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We state that this is one of the old and common doors of misguidance, where an individual rejects wahi, rejects revelation from Allah on the basis that their mind cannot understand it. I cannot understand it, then to them this means, thus it does not make sense, and thus it must be wrong, and thus it must be rejected. Allah musta'an. Before delving into the matter, we must remember the position of the aql, the intellect in Islam. It's very, very important. It has a very high position in Al-Islam. We find that we are aqil, I am aqil, you are aqil, we are rational beings, we can think, and that's why we have taklif placed upon us. We have responsibilities placed upon our shoulders. There are obligations, there are prohibitions. Jayid, we need to perform salah, we need to pay zakah, we need to perform wudu, we need to perform hajj, etc. We need to stay away from certain matters. This is all taklif. If we did not have an aql, then there wouldn't be any taklif upon us, because if your mind is underdeveloped or it's affected, then there's no taklif, no salah, no wudu, no hajj, no zakah, no prohibitions, no obligations upon you. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam states, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمْ عَنِ الثَّلَاثِ, that the pen has been lifted from 3 عن النائم حتى يستيقظ وعن الصبي حتى يحتلم وعن المجنون حتى يعقل. That the one who is asleep, the pen has been lifted until they wake up. The person who is a kid until they are now mature, they've come of age. And the majnoon, the one whose aql is not working correctly, until this person is rational. For as long as they are not a rational aqil individual, there is no taklif upon us, subhanallah. That's number 1. Number 2, numerous places in the Noble Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us to use our aql. And there's also dispraise for people who do not use their aql. We find in the Noble Quran 49 places, amongst them لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So that you use your aql, so that you ponder, so that you think, so that you know, so that you use your aql, insha'Allah. Right? And then there's dispraise for those who blindly follow and they do not use their aql. Summum bukmun umyun fahum la yaqilun. That these people, they are deaf, they are dumb, they are blind, and they do not use their aql. Allah musta'an. Then we also find our Shariah, that one of the 5 maqasid, one of the 5 objectives of the Shariah is what? Protection of the aql. That there are certain matters, they are made prohibited in the religion. Consumption of alcohol is haram, and one of the reasons is to preserve and to protect the aql, so that you know what you are doing, etc. Right? And so let us not feel, let us not say that Islam disregards the aql. Absolutely not. Rather, it is via our aql and via our investigation that one comes to the truth of al-Islam. Walhamdulillah. And so Islam does not disregard the aql, but also Islam does not go on to the other extreme and place the aql in a position above its correct position. Islam accords to the aql its appropriate position. So after this small introduction, we say to the individual who takes verses of the Noble Quran and ahadith, etc., and he just willy-nilly responds, well, this here I cannot understand it. This here is not rational. This here is unthinkable. This here is something which is imaginary. This here I cannot accept because my aql cannot accept. We say to such an individual that your aql, my aql, our uqul, they have limitations. Just like the eye, it has has its limitations. The aql, it operates in the realm of what we can perceive, what we can see, what we can understand, what we can grasp, etc. But the aql cannot delve into unseen matters, details with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with regards to the angels, with regards to the jinn, with regards to the final day, with regards to the fire, etc. These are matters of the ghaib, these are matters of the unseen, and thus the aql cannot grasp these matters. These matters, we gain knowledge about them not via the aql, but rather via the anbiya, via the prophets, via the revelation. Jayid. Why? Because it is outside the realm of what we can perceive. Jayid. Number two, we say to this individual that people differ in their aql, in their understanding. One individual says, no doubt, this here makes sense, Allahu Akbar. And another individual says, no, this here, my aql cannot understand it, etc. So whose aql, whose mind becomes the standard? We also state that time and place and experience also plays a role. 200 years ago, a person could never imagine, a person would say impossible, never ever could they believe that one day you could video call somebody across the globe in real time. That is something possible today. People are flying, people are going to the moon, etc. 100, 200, 500 years ago, people would say impossible. This here is something which is impossible. This is something which is not rational. Right? And then lastly, we say to the individual that it is impossible, it has never happened and it will never ever happen, that something qat'i of the Shariah, important, something qat'i meaning something which is certain, something which is definitive of the Shariah, it can never ever conflict with something which is qat'i of the rational proofs. This is impossible. Yes, what we can have is something qat'i of the Shariah versus and being in conflict with something which is dhanni of the rational proofs, or something which is qat'i of the rational proofs and it is in conflict with something which is dhanni of the Shariah proofs. This here is a possibility, and whenever there is a conflict like this here, what do? Do we give preference to the textual proofs, or do we give preference to the rational proofs? The answer is none of them. Rather, we give preference to that which is definitive, that which is qat'i. The certain qat'i definitive proof is always given preference, whether it might be textual in nature or whether it might be rational in nature. As long as it is qat'i, it is definitive, it is certain, then it is given preference. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.